and then someone will open up with a massive trauma that they've not brought up at the start, and it's like, oh, that makes sense for all the other things that you've been kicking off about that you basically it's not really landed of why you've kicked off.
Yeah, the root rather than just seeing the fruit, whether or not the fruit is bad fruit or good fruit, isn't it?
Yeah. So
it reminds me of a TV show that was like helping couples experiment in threesomes. Right, there we go. Sorted.
Like I'm miles away compared to you.
Yeah, I always try and position myself much closer. And then it's better for like when you're able to edit it into vertical videos as well, because hopefully I'm in like the top section. And sometimes I try and angle the camera down as well. So it's kind of like an eye length, but slightly pointed down.
I've probably spent ages trying to do this camera, just reaching to make us look roughly the same.
It's fine. We switch over anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So how are you doing today?
See my mug
now.
Yeah, right. Been watching couples therapy on iPlayer because they've got a new series out, which is really interesting.
Oh, any
have
new
you come
insights?
across that at all?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Any new insights? Not really. I think it's just re-going on the topics of trauma, past, and how it drips into your marriage, or if you're a couple, or if you're a pansexual. Is that the one that you can have multiple relationships or whatever?
Right.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting how a lot of people start off with like, oh, I was really enjoying it at the start and it's all fun and free, and then instantly you add a little bit of structure or responsibility or authority or want longer connection, that's where it completely is like blows out the water of, actually I've got a certain expectation of what I want in this situation. So then it's as if you need to reevaluate your whole arrangement to some extent, because there's this one couple, well, I say couple, what's 3 people in a triplet couple thing, and it's
Trio.
so fascinating hearing the different topics being not in that world of going, they have a primary connection with someone and then they have a secondary one, but the secondary one didn't like to be called the secondary one, so they changed the primary one to an anchor one, even though it's just the primary one, but they just changed the name, and then the secondary one was, I can't remember what they called it now. And it's just fascinating how it's like, yeah, but still the primary, like as much as you're trying to multiply this whatever you've got, you still like, basically you constantly want that core and that dependency, but when that dependent, because the dependent travels a lot, you basically want someone to step in because you probably feel alone. But really, you're missing number one, because when the number one moves back home, you completely ditch the number two. And it's like, I don't feel like that's fair at all on that number two in the whole system of things. But again, because the number two is like, I have trauma with commitment issues, she quite likes being number two. And I'm like, I find it fascinating how people just, you build your life on top of your trauma responses. But then it actually creates other trauma responses, because then you're going, actually, now I'm building that confidence in my relationship. Actually, I want to be number one now. But then you can't, because you've sort of been come in at number two. It's so fascinating what goes on in their brains and stuff.
I
and
remember.
then it'll be like 2 or 3 episodes, and it'll be like, and then someone will open up with a massive trauma that they've not brought up at the start. And it's like, oh, that makes sense for all the other things that you've been kicking off about that you basically, it's not really landed of why you've kicked off.
Yeah, the root rather than just seeing the fruit, whether or not the fruit is bad fruit or good fruit, isn't it?
Yeah. So
it reminds me of a TV show that was like helping couples experiment in threesomes. So it'd be like this typical like guy-girl. Guy wants to experiment with introducing a third person, and preferably that third person to be a female. And then they like meet a bunch of people in this house, and then they like go off, right, with this third person, which happens to be female. Now, funnily enough, when it all happens behind closed doors, and initially the female in the original partnership was not really that into it, but we'll go with it just to see what's what, right? Then when it comes to the more intimate moments, the two females were giving lots of attention to each other, and the guy felt left out. So then you come back to like I'm not sure if they use like a sex therapist at the end to kind of like, so how did you find it? And the couple was like, the guy was like, I felt really left out. And the lady was like, I really enjoyed it. Like I've had a far better experience kind of thing. And it's funny how there's always when somebody wants something, it's with the kind of potential selfish desire of wanting double the attention, let's say, for example. And when that does not happen, they quickly get despondent or like, it's not working for me. So
yeah,
it's funny because it was the other partner that was like, cool, I'll go ahead with it and like see. So I thought that was really interesting. Again, it is fascinating when you see dynamics like trios, because there's all sorts of like, let alone in duos, there's all sorts of expectations and stuff, but at least there's kind of like less to go wrong because it's just one individual rather than like a three can create loneliness. Whereas I know you can still feel lonely in a one-to-one, right? But it's amplified, I guess, when there's another individual in there. So yeah, I thought, again, not interested in myself, but like very interested in just seeing the challenges and the difficulties and like some of the concepts and the things that they trigger, right? Similar with any sort of like open therapy, that when you see them, like it is fascinating to learn stuff, not because I want to mimic the lifestyle, but just like, oh, this is really interesting. And these are the like interesting nuances of committing to a trio. Kind of.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is a lot of people, from what I gather, well, a lot of people on this program, I should say, it sounds like you're basically covering wounds with plasters, and those plasters are just other people. But then you realize you go back to, all I want is to find that one person, or all I want is that commitment, all I want is that one connection. And it sort of simplifies it once you sort of pull away all the pain and the hurt and the trauma, which is like, oh, that makes sense. So it is really interesting. I've only seen four or five episodes of this season, but I'd be quite intrigued to know what the conclusions are, because sometimes they say the conclusion is like this couple get married, or this couple split up because they basically realize that they're not good for each other or whatever. And I'm intrigued to know what some of them, will they end up breaking up from it.
Remind me of the barbershop interviews. If you intro us in, and then I want to mention about barbershop interviews off the back of what we've just been discussing, because this flows in nicely. I think we're into a flow, so we can cut the background and jump straight into it. So.
Fair enough.
Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop.
Welcome back to Don't Be a Doorstop. My name's Tom, and
this is Dan.
Just so it can flick over with the AI, we are going to talk about certain topics that I actually have written down for a change. So what would you do with 10 million? Award-winning and routine. And Dan's brought a other topic that is barbershop conversations or discussions or something. Yes, this is episode 50, 60 something. I should probably memorize it.
I think it's 63.
I feel like we should be adding up to know 64. What is the value that we're slowly bringing. We've teamed up by wearing both black t-shirts, looking like we're a production team, hidden in the background rather than be in front of the camera. But let's go for this episode. I've actually put effort into styling my room a little bit more than the black and white and grey combinations that I live in a 1950s film. And Dan's put in some green. So we've got the green plant and the green light. And the green light is go on this conversation.
Yeah, I'm pretending as if I'm in Inside Out and I'm the envy person, right? So you switch to the envy room and I'll give the envious opinion on stuff. I was watching TikTok and all of a sudden something very interesting popped up. Or maybe it was Instagram, I can't remember. Interviewing somebody in an appointment, in a hairdressing appointment. And they were being interviewed. It reminded me back to said episode where we were talking about barbershop ideas and coming up with ideas for Sam, if the name was correct. Yep. Is it Sam? Yeah. And I saw somebody doing a very popular TV kind of like show, very similar to like Chicken Shop, but they're getting, so it happened to be a dude getting his head shaved, right?
Okay.
He's got a beard and his head was being shaved, like, and I think it's called The Appointment. And it's like a TV show, like on a TikTok, like social media thing. And this lady is interviewing the person getting their hair done. And I was like, oh, this ties in so well. I forgot that I actually didn't send it to you, but I wanted to mention it on the pod because we'd spoken about Sam stuff. So it doesn't even need to be Sam doing the interviewing. It could be somebody else interviewing somebody that's having a haircut or a hair treatment by Sam, which I thought was really, really funny. And some of the content is like wild. So some of the topics was, they were talking about relationships. It was a lady interviewing a guy. And this guy has been on other kind of reality, kind of like real life interview-based shows. He actually has been on something called Blue Therapy, I think it's called, which is similar to the whole couples thing that you watch on the BBC iPlayer. It was like on Vimeo, where he was getting interviewed by, he was being, went to a therapy session with his then fiance or girlfriend, I can't remember now. And it all ensued. So he's a bit of a character. So now they brought that guy, and he's now having his hair done, and then they interview him, and they're talking about weddings and stuff. And then he was like, how much, like, do you expect your guy to pay for a wedding? And she's like, 300K, 400K, something like that. And he's like, really? Like, and then it's just funny. It makes for good social content, right? So it's just like, you can just ask wild questions and give wild answers, and that's one way to.
Cool.
But of course, I now don't care about the appointment, right? I'm not like, oh, is there a barber? Like, let me see if it's more just like content for content's sake. So you've still got to like somehow tie it back to the barber. But I thought that I would add that in, especially because in the intros we were just, or before the intro, sorry, we were just talking about therapy and threesomes and trios and all the rest of it, which is interesting.
Hot topics.
Jumping into the barbershop. But to go from trios, what about this question? So I want you to properly answer this question. And hopefully you've had some time to think about it because you saw it in my notes. But what would you do with £10 million? Maybe I should do this, man. £10 million. What would you actually do with £10 million? And if you're listening to this or watching us, what would you do with £10 million?
I would pay off any debt that I've got. I know that's not the right thing, but I would pay off my debt and probably figure out what circle of friends/family. Obviously, I can't go too wide, otherwise I won't have any money. But like a certain circle of people, just to free up people of thinking what they want to do without the monetary, burden that's on people. And then I'd either try and build businesses with friends and family that we enjoy to try and make money, or if there's certain topics that I'm not so bothered about, it's like, how could I invest in them? So then I'll just slowly build a hub of more businesses that hopefully makes money and does good to the world.
And what would
mine would be?
Yeah, that makes sense. What would your day-to-day look like now that you have £10 million?
Probably not that much different, if I'm honest. I think I don't
Same house.
Probably don't really like to travel that much.
Same place.
Would I go bigger house? I don't know, because I sort of feel like it'll be just wasted in property, if I'm honest. I don't know. I would upgrade certain things if I stayed in this house. I'd love like underfloor heating, and probably do up the garage to be a proper gym. But I actually like the thought of having hidden money but a normal lifestyle, rather than having a flashy house that people could break into. Because I spotted even on the news that people broke into Lionel Messi's Ibiza house and just spray painted all the walls and stuff. So I think that's the thing, is if it was known that people didn't know I had the money, I'd probably stay here for a bit and then suss out different things of how to sneakily get the money to people.
There's a book called Millionaire. I think it's something like Millionaire Next Door or something like that, where it's talking about the premise of there might be millionaires next door, but you never know because they don't dress or like look like they're millionaires, because we assume that wealth should be something that's projected, right? That you should see that somebody is wealthy rather than like know that somebody is wealthy, but they're not projecting it in a different way. So you wouldn't have like personal
Super
trainer,
yacht,
a yacht, a quad bike, a farm, a personal chef, anything like that.
Personal trainer, again, friends. Like I know Seth. I would just pay him, build a business, make sure that. And I think that's the thing is I guess I would have that, but hopefully with a bunch of friends or family that are into those sort of topics, rather than. But actually, yeah, I wouldn't want to just blow my money straight away. It's going, how can I build a legacy and be able to hand it off, but also how can I drip feed certain things? So like, could I do like fundraising for my local hockey club, but then I'm the one funding it without them realizing, so then they can get a decent pitch and sort of, I guess, do what the Wrexham ownership are doing is, yes, they're pumping a lot of like money and spotlight on something, but in the long run, they want to make it sustainable. So if they go, that then it can look after itself. And I think that's the sustainability would be a massive area for myself, I think. But yeah, what about yourself?
So just before I answer on my side, the reason why this is a good question is you can kind of like blue sky think without any of those restrictions. And then the second question is very similar to if everything paid the same, what would you do? Right. And if somebody answers, oh, I do this. And they'd be like, well, why aren't you doing it? Right. The second question in this is like, what of that could you do now that you don't need to wait for in some respects? Because sometimes we're like, oh, when we get to this moment or this milestone, we will do X, Y, Z. But then you realize actually, if you research it, those things can be are much cheaper than you think and can be done sooner than you think. So then you can essentially have a more rounded lifestyle of some of the attributes and some of the things that you would like dream of like now, essentially.
Yeah.
But for me, oh yeah, actually, yeah, you answer if there's anything now that you could do.
I think it's just building businesses with people. I know that's what I'm slowly doing at the moment with obviously like Muselingo and Don't Be a Doorstop and stuff like that. But I think it's sort of pushing that door a little bit more.
So more
to
collaboration.
See who else, yeah, more collaboration on certain topics to see what I can give resources or time or energy towards them and yeah, hopefully make them flourish.
So by next podcast, you'll have a new business.
We'll see.
We'll give you 30 days to create a new business. Yeah. That reminds me of like one of the best TV shows, I think, is I can't remember the name of it now, which is really annoying, but they take this like millionaire guy, they give him like $100 and like drop him off in a city that he doesn't know and then follow him as he builds his stuff.
So, yes, Undercover Millionaire, is it?
Yeah. Undercover Millionaire, yeah, that's the one. And he then builds a business over, I think it's 90 days, and he's hoping that after 90 days, or maybe 30 days, whatever it is, that it'd be valued at £1 million. And it's very, very clever. I really, really liked it. And then they did the same with 3 other celebrities, dropping them off in different places and trying to get them. I can't remember what the conclusions were with those ones because I didn't watch them all the way through. But,
so what would you do with 100 million? That's probably just one house in London, isn't it?
Yeah, 10 million. Yeah, you'd be able to buy that.
10 million.
Be able to buy that penthouse flat that I was talking about last time. I think for me, it's about like utilizing money for freedom, right? To some degree. So I would put them in investments, so I don't have to work on anything specifically for money. So then I would be able to do everything based on like what I wanted, like fulfillment and like problem solving and products and stuff. So I would essentially do the same stuff of like building products, but there'd be no pressure because all of the money is reinvested into property or investments and ETFs and stuff to like generate more back rather than it just being like depleted. And I think my lifestyle, yeah, go on. To
press you on that before the lifestyle. So out of interest, if you know that you've got money, so any product doesn't need to succeed, would that encourage you to push things more and sit on things and be patient with stuff? Or would it do the exact opposite and make you just have 1,000,001 half-arsed sort of apps out of interest?
It would probably be the latter. 1,001 half-baked ideas. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, as in everything is a small bet. So everything is a small bet nonetheless, because you can't control you can't control virality. You can do things to try and become viral, right? Like there are patterns and trends you can do, but like the virality of it would be like difficult. But I would assume, because I would completely do it differently, where I'd hire in CEOs. So I'd come up with an idea, bake the first version, hire in a CEO to run it. I would then assume that these ideas don't actually flop, that they become big things, because you've got multiple people. Because I know that I'm very good at like starting off stuff, and I'm very like creative. So I'll start something enough, and then I get like despondent as like time goes on, which is essentially because one, there isn't the kind of the traction, or one, there isn't the like the monetary income from what you've created, and that's down to one like kind of like poor execution of marketing, right? Or a lack of time in marketing.
A design version of Elon Musk, an app design version rather than engineer version.
Yeah, I would just be designing products, and then I'd pass them over to somebody else to like run them as fully fledged businesses. Essentially, I think that would be the way that I want to do it. And the way that I could and should do it now is basically get like a CEO, co-founder on some of the ideas that I've been working on. So like Herd, which is an app to help build relationships. I've built a version of it. If I just then handed it over to like a CEO or a salesperson to go in and get sales for enterprise and stuff, then that would be a fully fledged business. So I think that would be something. And I think the reason why I haven't done it is because I always think you're going to have to pay the person. But actually, there are people out there that would do it on equity. So I just need to like put myself out there to be like, hey, I'm looking for somebody to partner with me on this. And then they would get involved for equity, and then we'd go until there's money made. So that would be the best way to do it. But then like lifestyle stuff, I think I would be able to do anything that I wanted at any point, in the sense of like, I don't have to be at a meeting at a certain time. Nobody else is controlling my calendar, right? I control my own calendar. I have a private chef. I have a private gym. I have a private working out guy. I have a tennis coach. I have a squash coach.
Would you stay in London?
Yeah, I would stay in London. I'd also have a place abroad, and I'd have a kind of like a Cotswolds, kind of like Oxfordshire type like farm, where I have my quad bike that I ride around the farm with my kids.
So yeah, Chelsea lifestyle, basically.
Yeah, I would have it all. It's all about like freedom and luxury. That's what I'm basically building to. I thought today, or maybe yesterday actually, sorry, because today is too early to have a thought. It's still early. I had a thought yesterday. I saw somebody like, again, social video about entrepreneurship, and how the entrepreneur was like wanting to spend as much time as possible with their like child that's just been born. So from like 0 to 3, you want to be invested so much. So entrepreneurs typically like will be working and not at home as they're building this thing. However, that's like the most important time. So I'm like, could I continue to put in the effort, or increase the effort that I'm putting in, to mean that when we choose to have kids and have the first child, or like the children, to be able to have that absolute flexibility and freedom from 0 to 3 and onwards. But like, what would that look like? To be able to, aka not have to work for the first 3 years, because I've built something up that's sustainable or big enough that allows me to kind of like sit on that bed of cash for the 3 years. And I'm like, all those thoughts and ideas are really challenging and inspiring at the same time, to see if there's something that I could adapt or change, or like be like increase a sense of discipline, or bring back a sense of motivation for the moment, to then be able to do something like that. Because I'm sure we'd all say, if that was something that was like could happen, wouldn't you choose it? Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you're just like always with the child. You'd still be able to do the things that you like doing and bring them along and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's just a case of like not being stripped away to have to do something else. So it's just like that freedom of choice, I guess, and availability in things.
And I guess the application is just finding that MD, is it? The managing director to run with all your, or head of sales or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. I was also like, with the whole like chef stuff, I've felt like efficiency of like having to think what to eat or cook or whatever. I've eliminated that because I use like planty meals, which is great. But I'm like, it would be really cool to have a chef at some point. And I was like looking at how much a chef would be, and you could hire a chef for like 200 quid, 300 quid. Now that would make sense for like an evening or a weekend thing, but to do it indefinitely, you'd be like, okay, cool. Like you'd probably want a little bit more. So it's fascinating how you start thinking of things with like the realities of the amounts rather than like, oh, it must be super expensive to hire a chef, but oh, maybe it's not, kind of thing. It's a little bit cheaper to do that. And again,
you could probably just get
exchange
an intern full-time chef in London and just rent out your room, and that's someone that's dying for a room.
Yeah. And the only reason why I'd get a chef is because like the dietary requirements of like wanting to tweak dietary requirements would be easier. So funnily enough, you know, I said about my I did the dietary tests the other day.
Yeah.
I came back with like wheat and like egg whites or something like that, which is a bit weird.
Or you need more or less of?
Less of. Actually, I can't even remember. I'm basically going to fudge what I actually had in my my PDF now, aren't I?
Do you have too much fudge as well?
Oh yeah, yeast. Sorry, I said wheat, didn't I? I misspoke. Wheat is top. Egg white. Wheat. The gluten. The wheat and gluten are orange, and then everything else is like below 10. So you'd be like, cool. You have a chef to basically make stuff without the inclusion of yeast or whatever, and then you'd have like optimum dietary setup.
Talking about all things health, did you see the thing that I shared you on Instagram?
I haven't seen it yet. Or have I? No, I have seen it. Yes, Spotify.
Spotify have created like a body scanner that is apparently in London.
It is,
that scans your body and tells you all the good and bad things. And I think it rates you versus people your own age. So it's sort of what we've been talking about, which is interesting.
Yeah, it looks like, based on the like concepts, whether or not they're concepts or actual the real video, it looks like it's either kind of like looking at all your like skin pigmentation and stuff to highlight in on like skin, but it also looks like it's kind of like X-raying you as well. So I'm like, I wonder how it does it. It could be very similar to, you know, when they're looking at like how much muscle you have or how much body fat you have, like a similar type of scan to that. But they're also taking visual photos to kind of like look at skin. Because obviously that is the biggest organ, right? As well. But I'd be very interested to, again, see how much it is. Because I was looking at the
live pod of Dan walking through this.
Nakedly walking through this like, airport scanner for the pod. Because I was looking at the Brian Johnson stuff, and that's like £400 or whatever, and that's a bit too much to trial.
Did you see that lady on YouTube that went to Turkey to have a full body MOT? It's from America, and
it's super cheap in comparison to the States, isn't it?
$2,000 or something, but would have cost like 200k or something ridiculous.
That's another thing. If I had 10 mil, I would be like doing regular like blood checks and stuff. So then you'd be able to actually use that data to up or down.
Would you ever buy out a village or a town and just call it whatever you want?
I would buy a Ryland Island. That's what I've always joked about. So I'd like Virgin. The Virgin dude, Richard Branson, he has an island somewhere that he bought. So no, I don't think I'd buy an island. I think I would. Well, who knows? Maybe 10 million is not enough for an island. I assume that it wouldn't be enough.
You might be able to make one for that amount.
Go to Dubai and make a man-made island. Yeah, they do it in Dubai. So, and it's still there, still hanging on. So.
Award-winning or routine? What do you want to go on to next?
I'll do the routine thing. So obviously the To-Do app is really, really helpful. So if you don't know, Tom came up with like a To-Do app, really simple To-Do app that shows one task at a time so you don't get overloaded, and also bakes in a reward mechanism. So one, it's important to reward yourself after completing a task, and also that it doesn't show you the rest of the tasks until you've like come back after receiving that like reward, whether or not it's go for a walk or go and get a coffee or something, which is a great flow. So I've been using it, Kim's been using it, Tom's been using it. We've got other people on it as well that have been using it quite regularly. And I'm like addicted to my own app, which is great. Every night I can like mind dump into it, which is amazing. And also I'm trying to stay disciplined not to overload it. I've then been thinking about routine. I want to get better at like executing my routine and remembering my routine. So for example, like, did I take my daily greens, or did I take my nutrition like tablets or whatever? Or did I like brush my teeth last night or whatever, right? It's all this like little thing. Or did I wash my face, or did I put face cream on, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like forgetting, or did I drink 4 glasses or bottles of water? I'm forgetting. So having an app that I can log it is really helpful. Yes, of course, there's routine apps out there, but a lot of the time they'll take one task and you'll like log that one task. However, and that's based on like completeness. However, the way that I've orientated it is I've got like 8 things that I need to do in a day. That's a routine. And I want to log those 8 things, and the completion of those 8 things will be the success metric. So I want that to be like 80% complete or 100% complete, and kind of like remember. And also I can like look back to see when I haven't done it. And it kind of, it's that accountability of like, cool, I want to do this to keep up the momentum. So I will probably bring like some trend data of like, well, the last 7 days, you've trying to be getting better. You've got better over the last 7 days, or you've got worse over the last 7 days than the last 7 days, like comparisons. Because I think those like, you know, it's like, cool, you're going to lose a bunch of weight. So it's better to be like, try and log yourself for this week as a baseline. Then next week, try and do better. It's not like, okay, you've got to do like from 0 to 100. Just try and get better on the last week. So like that's small manageable goals or whatever they say, right? So yeah, building an app for that. I've built it. I'm trialing it, and it'd be interesting to know like how you're finding it. But I'm finding it incredibly helpful. I just need to launch it now and figure out a monetary thing.
I've not used it that much. It is very useful.
Is it better or worse than your habit tracker? Because you use the habit kit right now.
One thing that I use that's quite useful for the habit tracker is I use a active widget that I can change it there and then. I've not looked if you've created a widget for yours.
I haven't. No.
But I guess it's that widget format that I don't necessarily need to even go in the app.
So you can press it on the widget and it will update it, or you press the widget and it goes into the app. I think you just muted yourself. Can you hear me?
It takes it in the app without me needing to go into it.
Say that sentence again, because the audio cut for me.
It is because I'm getting a call, but that's fine.
Okay.
It's basically I can tap on the widget, and because it's active, then it goes straight into the log of the app, basically. So I don't need to step into the app.
So here's the widget. You're pressing something on the widget and then disappearing. You're not pressing something on the widget. It opens the app and then you're pressing something.
Correct. I press on the widget and then it edits the app without me needing to go into the app.
Right. Is that the paid version?
Yes, I think so.
You'll have to show me that, because I thought initially that widgets were only things that could display data and jump you in, rather than have actual actions in the widget. But that makes sense. Like having actions on the widget makes sense.
I can't remember if it was iOS 7. It was either last year or the year before they created, I think it's called like active widgets or something. But a lot of people haven't made the most of it, because I think a lot of people struggle to know how to.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're becoming a little bit more. It's handy if there's a simple button. It makes a lot more sense with that type of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess the difficulty with my stuff is because I have like lots of things. Maybe I'd have like one slider that you'd slide all the items, and then it would bring you a button for each of the items. So you can click the button to update that one item that you've got as like a scrollable area.
But I could show you that offline. And then award winning.
So tomorrow evening, in some festival called Idea Fest, there is the UK Startup Awards, where Kimmer and I are nominated for potentially the UK Startup Award like final. So we won our regional one, so we won Creative Startup in Wales, and then you go to like the UK. So I think we'll be awarded for like Well, I'm predicting that we're going to win Creative Startup for the UK. So UK Startup Awards, Creative Startup of the Year for 2024, which will be awesome. So I'm predicting that's going to happen. You heard it here first.
I feel like it's just a mic drop and then just end.
Yeah.
No discussion.
And I'll come back and be like, cut to like me holding whatever this thing that I don't even know if we get anything. But yeah, so I think that's going to happen. And we'll see. If not, it'll be a good day out or a good evening out in a field with other people talking about ideas and stuff.
And then does it go global, or is it just UK? Is that the glass ceiling?
It's just UK for this one. But
Exciting.
I'm not sure if we'll also get some official type thing for winning in Wales, because they do your regions first, and then you get you get an opportunity to now do the final. So we're against all of the regional winners for the Creative Startup, and there's multiple categories. So there's no music tech related one. So this is for Insider, I forgot to say. So yeah, Insider won Creative Startup in Wales, and hopefully they will win for the UK. So yeah, what do they say? Hold on, yeah, wait and find out. Basically, wait and find out if that's going to happen. You'll probably hear in our next episode when that's going to happen. So yeah, that's it. That's the exciting news that I've got. So I'm already award winning. But then I'll be an award-winning, and I'm already an award-winning founder, I guess. I'm an award-winning developer, award-winning founder. So this will be like even better being at a double award-winning. You win it at the Wales and the UK as well. So
I think that's a good way to end the pod, because I'm getting calls, which is completely wrecking my video and audio at the moment. So
hopefully it'll all hang together. Cool. Well, until next time, you'll see me as a double award-winning person. All right, talk to you later. Bye for now.
Bye for now.